Welcome to Agriberry. We'll be doing our peach pruning and caneberry pruning demonstration today, and we're excited to have some folks out with good questions to teach them how to work with their cane fruit.
Our whole peach crop last year, they were in a stage where the buds had just started to swell up, and it went to 7 below 0. And the whole orchard didn't have as many flowers as what's on this one tree. So we didn't even have flowers to protect last year. So what happens when the trees don't have a crop on it is they grow like crazy. So that's why these trees are as big as they are this year, is because there wasn't a crop on them. And we pruned them twice during the summer. We came through once in June and took buds out that were beginning to grow on the top, like where this shoot is, and just sort of wiped them off. Then we came back in August, and the ones that we didn't get, we actually pruned out, and they were big, giant water suckers that were, 10 feet. It was all like this kind of stuff we were cutting out. This. So we've already pruned these once to keep the centers of the tree open, because with peach trees, they bloom on 1-year wood. Okay, same as your cherry. So this piece of wood is 1 year old. Okay. And this is where all the flowers are. This piece of wood's 2 years old. See where the pruning cut was made last year? Right here. Okay. And it made this grow, and it made this grow. This is 2-year-old wood, no flowers. So with peaches, what you're trying to do is to constantly renew the tree to make 1-year wood close into the tree. Because I don't want the tree to I don't want it to outgrow its space, and I don't want it to be so long out here that when there's 20 peaches on it, it breaks the branches off. So if there's a way to prune it back to make it smaller, to invigorate that 1-year wood, that's what we're going to keep trying to do. And when they don't get light, if all this wood that was growing up here is shading everything, this is what happens. See all this wood here, this blank? That's all dead. That's all dead wood. So
you gotta cut it out to keep any energy from going in there?
Well, the first thing you want to do with a peach is to get rid of the dead wood. And you see, remember how I said we want to keep this moved back to renew wood? Well, I want the tree to start to grow up some, but I also want to move it back. And on a peach tree, with all these blooms on here, we only need 5% of those flowers to make fruit. 5%. So with the pruning process, I want to remove 70% of when I'm pruning. And then I'm going to wait to get through all the cold weather, because there's still way too many peaches on this tree that's been pruned. So this tree is still going to have, we should go vertical now. Like this branch right here that's left, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 flowers on it. How many peaches do you think should be left on that?
Probably not more than 2.
Correct. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Would you make it shorter? Shorter branch?
Well, you can.
Yeah. Okay.
But there's different cuts that you make in a peach tree that do different things. The same in blackberry. Okay? There's a heading cut. That's a heading cut.
Okay.
And I didn't cut that back to anything except the bud. And what that's going to do is it's going to cause a witch's broom right here. I'm going to get 4 or 5 buds that are going to grow right straight up in the air. So I don't like to do that kind of cut because of what it will do later. This is a thinning cut. You see, this would be a thinning cut right here, where I'm cutting off to another branch.
Right, okay.
And if you do it here, when this went out, that's referred to as a bench cut, because it's growing up and you went to something going out. See, this is a bench cut right here. It's going up and now out.
Okay.
That
And
makes
see-
it so you can reach it.
That helps get the tree to grow out instead of up. But now we get to a point where the tree is now filled its space up. So I can actually grow this tree over to there by continuing to make bench cuts. But I don't want to do that anymore.
You want to be able to drive down here.
I got to drive down here. I have to pick. I've got to be able to have access to all this. So that's why we're doing these benches back to lower wood, this further back in the tree to keep renewing it. Because now, see, here's what happened when it was shaded. That wood died.
Okay, okay.
So what we've got to do is to open the tree up. You see, that was all dead wood that I was cutting off. Because the dead wood is also a stub where diseases can go back in the tree. So what you're trying to do, like, say for instance here, I want to move this back as far as I can, so it's still getting light, and to renew the tree. And if I prune it out here, I'm pretty leggy. And this whole branch could maybe only hold maybe 3 peaches. 2 rows that are identical, and what the anticipation is when you're picking to be able to drive down here, pick both sides, and then go on out and be done. So there's 10 trees, and then there's a stake over here that marks where the variety changes, and you can also see it in the flowers. Yeah. Peach trees are very classic with being able to identify varieties by the flower type. You know, with a showy flower versus a non-showy flower. So you can tell in a planting whether you have varieties that are not true to type.
So it's not as much the way that some of them seem to be growing, like up versus out.
There are some differences there, like blackberries, like Washita, you know, that grow right straight up in the air versus laying out flat. And a variety called Sun High is it likes to lay out, and it's really a lot more difficult to prune than this one is. So you say you've got 1 peach tree, but you don't know what variety it is.
Right, I don't. No. Might come to me, or if you mention it, might ring a bell.
Alberta, Red Haven, Loring.
Anything with a PF in front of it.
So we started here this morning and worked down. So this row and this row are identical. So this is a before picture, this is an after picture.
Tell us a little bit about some of the defense mechanisms we have against such cold events.
Did you go over and look at the
Not in depth? I saw that we had a new station set up there. It looks like you have power running to it, and then of course the wind machine.
Well, the wind machine's set up so that when there's a frost, there's typically warmer air up high and cold air down low. So when you run the wind machine, that blade's actually on a bit of an angle, and it can pull this warm air down.
Oh, okay.
And that red head on top of there makes a rotation every 2 minutes. It makes a lap around, and it will blow enough air over here that the branches will, like this.
Oh, really?
They really dance around. If you're close to it, it'll blow your hat off.
Oh, okay.
Now, but not every, that depends on there being warm air up here and cold air down here. And in order to get those conditions, it needs to be sunny and calm during the day. It's not going to happen today. It's overcast. The air temperature up 300 feet is the same as the air temperature right here. It's all mixed up already. So this other machine that we have down here uses propane, and it actually heats the moisture up in the air, turns it into a vapor, okay? And then that vapor will get on the buds, and then when it starts to freeze, it releases heat. So we're not heating the whole orchard, we're just heating some air. And that air will get on, when it lands on the flowers then, when it freezes, it releases heat. So it's doing the same thing. That green box is using propane, and it makes a circle. And that one goes every 8 minutes, and it will cover that only covers 2.5 acres, Whereas this machine, when it's working correctly and the conditions are right, will cover 15 acres.
Wow. Wow.
But on a night like tonight, that machine's worthless. So that's what we get to use tonight.
Because there's not enough heat coming from the ground.
There's
or the
no
trees.
inversion.
Okay.
There's no inversion. In order to have this inversion, you need to have really clear. It needs to be clear and calm. Where a day when it goes up to like 60 during the day, and then when it gets clears off at night, the temperature really starts to plummet. But there's still warm air up top. Here, like I said, it's all going to be the same.
There's a lot of wind right now.
It's all being mixed. So.
Okay folks, I hope you had a great time at Agriberry Farm today and learned a little bit about cane pruning and peach or plum pruning and got to see all those magnificent full blooms in the orchard. Thanks for coming by.